Have you ever wondered if the enlightenment you seek is a mirage, an illusion crafted by your own mind? Imagine standing at the edge of a vast desert, convinced that beyond the shimmering horizon lies an oasis of eternal peace and wisdom. You chase it with relentless yearning, only to find that with every step forward, the oasis shifts further away, never quite within reach. What if I told you that this elusive oasis, the very idea of enlightenment, is not a distant destination, but a veil concealing something far more profound? This pursuit of enlightenment has drawn countless souls across centuries, from the silent mountains of Tibet to the burning sands of the Egyptian deserts, all chasing a promise whispered in sacred texts and ancient teachings. It is often described as the ultimate peace, the final liberation from suffering, or the moment when all answers become clear. Yet, despite this shared dream, many who seek this illumination find themselves lost in confusion, frustration, or even despair. Today, we embark on a journey beyond the familiar stories and surface-level definitions. What if enlightenment is not a glowing summit you reach, but an abyss you must willingly dive into? What if it is less about finding answers and more about dissolving the questions that bind you? The enlightenment many imagine as a serene, static state might instead be a dynamic process, a raw, unfiltered encounter with reality that dismantles every comfortable belief. We will unravel ancient mysteries whispered by sages and mystics, peeling back layers of misunderstanding that have clouded this sacred truth for millennia. Together, we will explore why enlightenment is not the peaceful reward many expect, nor a final state of blissful being. Instead, it is a radical transformation, a shattering of illusions that both terrifies and liberates. In the moments ahead, you will discover the hidden dimensions of enlightenment, from its paradoxical nature to the subtle traps that await seekers. We will draw from timeless teachings and esoteric wisdom to reveal what lies beyond the mirage, and how this knowledge can awaken something real within you. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about awakening itself. The truth you find here may not be comfortable, but it will be undeniable. Across the vast tapestry of human history, the quest for enlightenment has been a luminous thread woven through countless cultures, philosophies, and spiritual traditions. Yet, to truly grasp why enlightenment is not what most expect, we must first journey back into the origins of this profound pursuit, into the sacred texts, the whispers of ancient sages, and the mystical schools that laid the foundations of esoteric wisdom. In the ancient East, the concept of enlightenment is most famously articulated within the teachings of Buddhism, particularly through the notion of Bodhi, a Sanskrit term meaning awakening or understanding. The Buddha's own journey was marked by profound inner turmoil, a descent into the darkest depths of human experience, before he emerged with the insight that liberation is not merely an escape from suffering, but a fundamental shift in perception itself. Enlightenment, in this sense, was not a crown to be worn, but a dismantling of the ego's fortress, a revealing of the nature of reality as fluid, impermanent, and interconnected. The great Buddhist texts caution seekers against mistaking enlightenment for bliss or eternal peace, emphasizing instead the realization of anicca, impermanence, and anatta, non-self. This idea that enlightenment is not a fixed, peaceful, state but a dynamic unraveling of illusions is echoed in Taoism, where the Tao Te Ching speaks of the way as something elusive and ungraspable. Laozi describes the Tao as the source of all things. Yet it cannot be seen or defined, reminding us that true understanding lies beyond concepts and intellectualization. The enlightened person, according to Taoist thought, moves with the natural flow of life, embracing paradox and uncertainty rather than clinging to certainty or control. This ancient wisdom teaches that enlightenment involves surrendering the mind's desire to dominate reality, allowing instead a harmonious participation with the ever-changing dance of existence. Similarly, in the mystical traditions of the West, such as Hermeticism and the writings of the Neoplatonists, enlightenment is portrayed as a journey inward to the divine spark within the human soul. Plotinus, one of the great Neoplatonists, described the process of henosis, or union with the One, as a stripping away of all false identities and separations, returning the soul to its primordial source. But this union is not a tranquil, resting place. It is a transformative experience that shatters the illusions of individuality and ego, often described as both terrifying and blissful. Throughout history, many spiritual figures have warned that the path to enlightenment is riddled with perilous illusions and subtle traps. The notion that enlightenment is a state of permanent happiness or supernatural power can become a false idol, leading seekers into spiritual pride or escapism. The dark night of the soul, a term popularized by the Christian mystic saint John of the Cross, speaks to the intense inner trials that can accompany deep spiritual awakening. Periods of profound confusion, despair, and apparent absence of divine presence. These experiences remind us that enlightenment is not a simple victory, but a process of continuous death and rebirth within the self. Esoteric teachings across cultures often emphasize that the true nature of enlightenment cannot be fully conveyed through words or concepts. It is experiential and paradoxical. The Zen tradition famously employs koans, enigmatic riddles or statements designed to break the mind's habitual patterns, precisely because enlightenment transcends rational thought. The famous Zen saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water," encapsulates the paradox that enlightenment does not remove one from the everyday world, but transforms the very way one inhabits it. Moreover, many esoteric schools highlight the importance of initiation and guidance on this path. Ancient mystery schools guarded their teachings carefully, understanding that premature or misguided attempts at awakening could destabilize the seeker's psyche. The journey was not meant to be rushed or undertaken lightly. It required discipline, humility, and the cultivation of inner resilience. The idea that enlightenment is an attainment to be checked off a list is a modern distortion. Instead, it is an ongoing unfolding, an ever-deepening relationship with the mystery of existence itself. In light of these teachings, the widespread contemporary image of enlightenment as a blissful, effortless state is revealed as a superficial veneer. True awakening demands that we confront the shadows within ourselves, the fears, attachments, and illusions that constitute our false sense of self. It involves surrendering deeply held beliefs and embracing the unknown with courage. This process can feel disorienting, even shattering, as it breaks down the familiar maps we rely on to navigate life. To better understand this, imagine enlightenment not as a destination atop a mountain, but as the sudden clearing of fog on a stormy sea. The waters beneath remain turbulent, the sky unpredictable, but now you see the vastness in which you are sailing. The journey continues, but your relationship to the journey is irrevocably transformed. The challenge is no longer to control the waves, but to navigate them with clarity and presence. This historical and philosophical context reveals enlightenment as a profound paradigm shift rather than a simple goal. It is a radical reorientation of consciousness that shakes the foundations of identity and perception. By exploring these ancient teachings, we begin to glimpse why enlightenment is far more complex and far more liberating than popular culture suggests. To truly grasp why enlightenment is not what we commonly imagine, we must peel back the layers of expectation and enter into the very essence of what this transformation entails. At its core, enlightenment is less a static achievement and more an ongoing process. A profound shift in perception that forever alters the way we engage with reality. It is the dissolution of the veil that separates us from the vast, interconnected whole, but paradoxically, it is also the shattering of the self we once clung to as a separate entity. Imagine a vast mirror, pristine and clear, reflecting the world without distortion. This mirror is your consciousness before awakening, a surface that holds the reflection of your thoughts, emotions, and identity, all framed by the ego's boundaries. Enlightenment is not about polishing this mirror to perfect clarity, but about recognizing that the mirror itself is part of the reflection. In other words, the seeker discovers that the self they believe to be solid and separate is actually a construct, an image within the vast expanse of awareness itself. This realization is often described metaphorically as the death of the ego or false self. But death here is not an end, it is a profound transformation. The ego's dissolution reveals the boundless nature of consciousness beyond individual identity. Yet this process is neither painless nor simple. It shakes the very foundation of existence, forcing the seeker to relinquish all the familiar anchors of security, beliefs, desires, and even the notion of a permanent self. To understand this, consider the analogy of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. For the caterpillar, the world is limited to crawling on leaves and branches. The chrysalis stage is dark, confining, and disorienting, a total upheaval of form and function. Similarly, the seeker entering enlightenment experiences a chrysalis of the mind, where old patterns disintegrate in order to give way to a new mode of being. It is in this liminal space that true awakening occurs, a rebirth into a reality where boundaries blur and unity replaces separation. Yet, enlightenment does not mean the end of challenges or suffering. Rather, it transforms the relationship to these experiences. Where once pain and joy were polarized, the enlightened mind perceives them as waves arising and dissolving within the ocean of consciousness. This is why some enlightened mystics describe their state as both blissful and sorrowful, serene yet profoundly alive with the full spectrum of existence. Enlightenment is not an escape from the human condition, but a deeper immersion into its mystery. Another essential aspect is the paradoxical nature of enlightenment itself. It defies simple definition because it transcends the dualistic mind that seeks to categorize and control experience. The ancient Taoists pointed to this when they declared, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao." In the same vein, enlightenment cannot be fully captured by words or concepts. It is a direct experience, a living truth felt rather than understood intellectually. This paradox extends to the very act of seeking enlightenment. The more one strives for it as a goal, the more it slips away, like grasping water with clenched fists. True awakening often happens when the seeker surrenders the pursuit altogether, when the desire for enlightenment dissolves into acceptance of what is. This surrender is not defeat, but the opening of a doorway into a realm beyond effort and striving. Within this complex dynamic, there are also subtle pitfalls that can mislead seekers. The spiritual path is riddled with illusions of progress, false awakenings, and spiritual bypassing, where difficult emotions or unresolved issues are ignored in favor of superficial positivity. Genuine enlightenment demands honesty and courage to face all aspects of the self, including shadow and light. It requires integration of insight into daily life, not escape from it. Consider the metaphor of light-piercing darkness. Enlightenment is not the absence of darkness, but the illumination of it. Only by shining light into the hidden corners of the psyche can the seeker transform the unconscious patterns that bind them. This process is often slow and non-linear, marked by cycles of revelation and concealment. On a practical level, this means that enlightenment involves continual inner work, mindfulness, self-inquiry, meditation, and compassion. These practices are not magic formulas, but tools that help the seeker dismantle false identifications and cultivate presence. Presence itself becomes the foundation upon which the awakened life is built. A deep, moment-to-moment awareness that transcends the chatter of the mind. An example often used is that of the ocean and the waves. Each wave appears distinct, but is inseparable from the ocean beneath. Enlightenment is the recognition that your individual consciousness is like a wave, an expression of the vast ocean of existence. You are both the wave and the ocean, simultaneously, unique and unified. This understanding dissolves the illusion of separation and opens the heart to boundless compassion and wisdom. Yet, this awareness does not negate individuality or the beauty of personal experience. Instead, it invites a new relationship with oneself and others, one grounded in interconnectedness and humility. The enlightened one walks the world fully embodied, aware of the transient nature of all things, and yet deeply connected to the eternal flow of life. In sum, the core of enlightenment is a profound shift from identification with a limited self to an experiential knowing of unity and impermanence. It is a journey into mystery that transforms not only the mind, but the very fabric of being. Far from the comfortable visions of bliss or escape, enlightenment demands courage, surrender, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. If the essence of enlightenment is a profound transformation of perception, how can one begin to approach this vast and often intimidating process? While the journey is deeply personal and unique, There are practical steps and timeless techniques that can gently guide the seeker toward awakening, not as a goal to grasp, but as a reality to embody. First and foremost, cultivating presence is essential. Presence means fully inhabiting the moment without judgment or distraction, allowing the mind to settle like a still pond, reflecting the sky. Meditation is one of the oldest and most accessible methods to develop this quality. Whether through focused attention on the breath, body sensations, or sounds, meditation trains the mind to observe itself without attachment. This subtle witnessing begins to reveal the layers of thought and emotion that create the illusion of a fixed self. It is within this witnessing space that the seeds of awakening take root. Another powerful practice is self-inquiry, famously taught by the sage Ramana Maharshi. This technique invites the seeker to ask the simple but penetrating question, "Who am I?" Not as a conceptual puzzle, but as an experiential investigation into the source of the I that claims ownership of thoughts and experiences. By persistently turning attention inward, the seeker gradually dissolves the identification with the ego and glimpses the underlying awareness beyond personal identity. In addition to meditation and inquiry, embracing the full spectrum of one's inner life is vital. Enlightenment is not about suppressing or avoiding difficult emotions such as fear, anger, or grief. Rather, it involves meeting these feelings with openness and compassion. Shadow work, acknowledging and integrating repressed parts of the psyche, can illuminate unconscious patterns that obscure true awareness. Practices like journaling, mindful breathing, or guided therapy support this integration, helping the seeker move through resistance rather than around it. Mindfulness in daily life is equally important. The ordinary acts of eating, walking, or listening can become gateways to presence when done with intentionality. This practice grounds awakening in lived experience, preventing spiritual bypassing where insight remains detached from reality. Enlightenment is not an escape from the mundane, but a transformation of how we engage with it. Patience and humility are essential companions on this path. The process of awakening is rarely linear or comfortable. Moments of clarity may be followed by confusion or doubt, and the ego often resists dissolution fiercely. It is common for seekers to encounter what is called the dark night of the soul, periods of existential emptiness that challenge faith and resilience. Understanding these phases as natural stages rather than failures helps maintain steadiness and commitment. Support from a teacher, community, or trusted guide can provide invaluable encouragement and perspective. Ancient traditions often emphasized initiation and mentorship to help seekers navigate the subtle terrains of consciousness safely. While modern spiritual exploration is more individualistic, connecting with others on the path can offer validation, shared wisdom, and grounding. It is also important to guard against common pitfalls such as spiritual pride or attachment to experiences of bliss. Genuine awakening is marked by increased humility, compassion, and equanimity rather than ego inflation. When moments of insight arise, it is beneficial to approach them with curiosity and discernment, recognizing that these are stepping stones, not endpoints. In practical terms, beginning with a simple daily meditation of even 5 to 10 minutes can create space for presence. Over time, This can be extended and deepened according to one's capacity. Pairing this with moments of self-inquiry during quiet reflection encourages the unraveling of egoic identification. Complementing these with mindful awareness in everyday activities helps integrate awakening into the fabric of life. Breath awareness, too, is a potent tool for grounding. The breath is the bridge between the conscious and subconscious, the body and mind. Practices like pranayama, or simply observing the natural rhythm of breathing, can calm the nervous system and anchor awareness in the present moment. Ultimately, the path toward enlightenment is a dance between effort and surrender. While disciplined, practice sharpens the mind and opens the heart. The greatest breakthroughs often come when one relinquishes control and allows the mystery to unfold. This balance is delicate and unique to each individual. Remember the metaphor of the wave and the ocean. The wave does not cease to be itself, but it recognizes its oneness with the ocean beneath. Likewise, awakening is not losing oneself, but discovering the self beyond separateness. As this realization deepens, life becomes imbued with a sense of wonder, compassion, and interconnectedness. For those beginning or continuing on this path, the invitation is to engage with these practices not as a checklist, but as living explorations. Be gentle with yourself, honor your pace, and remain open to the unfolding mystery. Enlightenment is not a prize for the worthy, but a natural state awaiting recognition beyond the layers of illusion. As we draw this exploration to a close, it's essential to reflect on the profound truths uncovered about enlightenment and what it truly entails. Enlightenment, as we have seen, is not the tranquil reward or fixed state that popular imagination often paints it to be. Rather, it is a dynamic, transformative journey that shakes the very foundations of identity, perception, and understanding. It demands courage to face the unknown, humility to surrender cherished beliefs, and a deep commitment to ongoing self-discovery. Throughout our journey together, we have peeled back the layers of historical wisdom, from the Buddha's awakening beneath the Bodhi tree to the Taoist embrace of paradox and the mystical union sought by the Neoplatonists. These ancient teachings converge on the idea that enlightenment transcends the ego, revealing a reality of impermanence, unity, and boundless awareness. It is a shattering of illusion, not a gentle illumination, often accompanied by both darkness and light. The core of enlightenment is a profound shift from identifying with a limited self to recognizing one's true nature as an integral part of the vast, interconnected whole. This transformation brings freedom from the confines of fear, attachment, and separation, opening the heart to compassion and wisdom. Yet, it is not an escape from life's challenges. Instead, it deepens engagement with existence in all its mystery and complexity. Practically, we discussed how awakening is nurtured through presence, self-inquiry, shadow work, and mindful living. These practices serve as keys to dismantle false identities and cultivate an ever-deepening awareness. The path is neither easy nor linear. It demands patience, resilience, and often the guidance of those who have walked before. The dark nights and moments of doubt are as integral to awakening as moments of clarity and bliss. Now, the call to you, the seeker, is to embrace this journey with openness and sincerity. Question your assumptions about what enlightenment should be, and allow the truth to reveal itself in its raw and paradoxical nature. Let go of the need for certainty and control, and trust in the unfolding mystery of your own awakening. As you move forward, remember the metaphor of the wave and the ocean, both distinct and inseparable. Your individuality is not lost, but transformed into a deeper knowing of unity. This realization is not a destination, but a living, breathing experience that evolves with every breath, every moment of presence. In closing, enlightenment invites you into a dance with the unknown, a continual unveiling of truth that both humbles and empowers. It challenges the comfort of illusion and calls forth the courage to live authentically and deeply. The path may be arduous, but it is also the most profound adventure available to the human spirit. Take these insights not as final answers, but as an invitation to explore, to question, and to awaken beyond what you thought possible. The journey is yours, and the mystery awaits.